Joey, are you rolling? Where are you going to put the thing? Is it working? I really might give up at 250 the other one. Might be right. Yeah, I won't see it coming. Right? Put it up to the sun. So, Joey, you're saying whenever? Yep. I'm ready. Let's go. Ready, I'm ready. I guess you can catch that in the ass. I guess that's what I right now. All right, y'all ready? Well, we need to volunteer. Wait,
Yeah, it's not hooked up. All right, how's everybody doing? All right, so we need someone that is very confident and has just zero filter, does not care what anyone thinks of them, is willing to make a fool of themselves to do the BC Pod intro. Can we get a volunteer? Matt, can you please choose someone?
We'll do it. I have an intro to read here.
Oh. I can't see that. Can I improv?
Yes.
Tony, do you know any jokes?
Do I know any jokes?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, if you think of a joke, you can end the podcast.
End the show with the podcast.
Yeah, you can end the show.
Well, I'm gonna have you end the show.
Podcast with
I'm gonna have you
if you have a, just a,
Okay, here we go.
no. You got to save it for the end of the podcast.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I am, no offense, I had this thing that somebody's going to read for the intro. But you, my friend, are going to close the show with a good joke or gag that you come up with, and you've got an hour and a half to figure it out.
Yeah.
Does that sound good?
Yeah. Only parameters that has to be completely filthy and everybody has to be disgusting.
Okay. Thank you, Tony. But is there anybody that's just that jerk that wants the microphone? Who's that? It speaks to somebody typically. I got a couple of hands here. But
Green sweatshirt. Is that green? Right there.
Get this mic.
Boom.
Yeah. Whoever's this.
And here's what we like. Everybody just come a little bit closer and sit down, and
Yep.
we'll get comfortable here.
All right, take a second.
John, mop the floor. Unbelievable. It's super clean. You Michigan people are clean people.
I think we have everybody here. The way we gauge when to start the show is nothing at all by time. We judge it the same way you cook popcorn in the microwave. It slows down to a certain pace of people showing up with a gap between, and then you know that that's pretty much everybody that's going to show up.
That's a good analogy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, good job.
That's not a joke. That's just
I know it's not a joke. I just
the
like
way
it.
that I gauge it.
Nice. All right, you ready?
That's yours.
Tell us your name.
Well, hang on. Did you test the sound effect level?
Okay.
I'm a little uncomfortable because Joey's running sound effects.
Plug your ears, those of you in front.
No, it's not gonna. I don't want to. We're ready to go.
All right.
You ready? You got a handle on what's happening?
I think I do.
What's your name?
My name is Chad.
Let's give it up for Chad.
Okay, Chad.
Now you have heard the podcast, right? Okay, and you're good.
All right. The energy that you bring right now is
Yeah.
going to be the vibe for the rest of the night. So this is on you.
All right.
You are now entering the Bad Christian Podcast.
Welcome to John's Basement, all you Ted Fusion freaks. My name is Chad, and I'm here to set the tone for tonight's show. For those of you at home, I'm going to describe the crowd for you and the environment tonight. We're in John's basement, complete with a shuffleboard and a mural and some broken down drop ceiling.
Describe the people a little bit.
Oh, they're attractive, mostly bearded. A lot of Grand Rapids IPAs I see amongst the crowd this evening, so it's
Nice
sure to be a
work.
good night. Thank you very much, sir. Tonight we'll feature questions from our Grand Rapids audience, and even better than that, we, are gonna be doing the damn news with Toby Morrell.
All right.
And possibly some roving reporters like that boo guy over there. Okay, so everyone get on your feet and let's see a podcast mosh pit for Christ.
Yeah.
It's the Bad Christian Podcast!
You can keep it. Very good.
Wow.
Tell us your name again, sir.
Chad.
Chad, that was great. I appreciate it. Have you done radio before? Any broadcast experience?
I wrote for a newspaper, but never anything in person.
Very good. So you're not so good off script.
Apparently not.
Okay.
All right, we want to get this thing started?
Yeah.
Okay, I need your help. We do a 3, 2, 1, so I want to hear you, Grand Rapids. Help me out. 3, 2, 1! Joey, drop the beat!
I gotta change gears.
Oh my Lord. What? I didn't see this go. Wait.
2 pizzas coming to my front door.
Wow.
Sorry, I could not eat them both.
Is this spoken word?
Well, maybe I can, but a choice that's poor to eat as many slices until it physically hurt and later can't fit in my favorite Emery shirt. Okay, I'll eat the other. I just don't care. And having perhaps the more shame because it was greasy and I didn't share. And now I can really hardly bear. I'm getting fat as hell and no one even cares. And in the morning, there's more hell to pay. Pepperoni and sausage is coming back. Oh, how I long to change my gluttonous ways, yet knowing at 9 p.m. I won't be able to delay. It's pizza time again, just one more day. I shall be telling Neil with a sigh, sometime this shit will have to stop. 2 pizzas coming to my front door. I didn't eat less this time nor even try, and I don't know if trying will make a difference. You break it down, Toby.
Y'all see what we're up against here? Does this put it into a little more focus sometimes where we're coming from? I have no idea what that was. I didn't see it coming. Didn't.
All I could think about was your poor wife and the romantic poems that you wrote. What did that look like? She was like, oh, great. It was awesome.
I have to beatbox.
I'll do it. I want y'all to give me some props for that poem.
Did you
Yeah.
write some or was your band
That was amazing.
Do one more. 3, 2, 1.
3, 2, 1, Joey.
There you go.
All right, it's the Bad Christian Podcast.
All right. Gotta tell you, that's a huge thrill to have a live audience to do this in front of. To have instead of the sound effect cheers that we produce, that we cut and paste into our show, to have real people here. Thank you. We're gonna take some questions from you guys tonight. So you know what I want you to do is feel free at any point even to raise your hand to chime in, because that's what I know when people listen to podcasts like when I do. I'm always thinking if I could interject right now, that'd be great. Now, we probably will ignore you. But if we feel like we're fishing and we got nothing to say, we might call on you. So feel free to
I
raise
say
your
there
hand.
should be a 5-second rule. That way they don't feel
Yeah.
like majorly slighted.
But I gotta
If they just
like
keep their hand up for like a really long time. It's embarrassing if we don't shoot.
But it might win. We might.
Okay, well that's on you. If you have your hand up for 5 minutes and you start feeling uncomfortable, that's your choice.
Y'all ever do the handshake or the high five and the person totally disses you and you don't know what to do with your hand up here? That's the way it's gonna be.
All right, so what is on the agenda tonight, folks? Is there anything burning in your brain you want to talk about?
Well, first of all, the funniest thing I thought that happened is I tried to remember exactly. Matt and Toby played John's house. It's been like 2 years ago.
We were right here in this
and I was
room.
like, and I even smashed my rearview mirror on my car in its driveway. I was like, I know this house, no doubt. Joey, turn here. We pulled in. We knocked on. Matt just opened the door and started walking in, and there was a man.
You were standing. You went up the stairs and you were standing face to face with a bald-headed, middle-aged, 50-year-old son.
Which I assumed was John's dad.
Yeah.
You know,
I had a case of Coors Light. I walked and knocked on the door. He opened the door. I took one step in the door. He said, "What are we doing here?"
Yeah, but no. He was like, "What are we doing here?" Big old smile.
He was
happy to
stoked.
see you.
He was like,
happy.
dude just showed up at my house with beer.
He was
Let's
happy,
do this.
but really confused because this was a block and a half up the street.
Basically, he was an alcoholic. He was an alcoholic.
But it's one of those things here, and I mean, I'm not knocking the neighborhood, but it's like a bunch of houses. They're all built by the same builder in the same year. I'm guessing it's the 50s or so that these houses were built. And what was it? The 20s? Yeah, these are houses from the 20s, and they're identical. And we didn't even look at the street. Just go, that's it. That's John's house. Go walk in the guy. So him and his wife came. I don't know if they thought we were doing something bad, but I gave them one of our Coors Lights as a tax. They said they would split it. And
He was still asking us to come.
No, they wanted to hang out. You Michigan folks, they're like, hey, so I don't know who you are. Come on in, let's drink. So we got it was great. Like they started talking about this art. Is it Art Pre? Is that what it's called? Art Pride. They were like, hey, you got to see this tomorrow. It's amazing. They were just talking. We're like, we got to get out of here. I don't know what to do. There's 3 people, but here. Your beer, we got to leave. So we ended up here for sure. But with that being said, I
was just gonna say you guys are great hospitable people. I mean, it's really
Michigan.
Yeah, Michigan. Well, Wisconsin, I think someone said Wisconsin is like the southern state of Midwestern. I think that's the way of saying they're rednecks.
Michigan's got a lot of the outdoor stuff, right? So I'm on record as the Midwest is absolutely terrible. For sure. I don't like it at all. But I give a little bit of credit to Michigan and Wisconsin for being a little more interesting. They have a little more outdoorsy stuff. They've got the lakes going. Everything's not totally flat. And you start to get far enough north and you start to get a little redneck. And I do like
I respect that for sure.
Yeah, the northern Midwest is like they have some personality. You get a little bit south,
absolutely.
There's nothing there. But that's funny you say that because my wife and your wife are Midwestern.
And Devin's wife.
Yeah. And my wife is a Spitfire. We actually got into an argument today.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was It's about a few different things.
Did you record it? Can we play clips?
I thought about that. She'd be so mad if I did that.
She's not mad about
she
it.
She is straightforward, get to the point, and I'm very emotional. I know people wouldn't ever guess that about me, but I'm extremely emotional and loud and obnoxious. So I was at one point yelling the F word a few times.
Well, slow down. You got to give us a little more details on the argument than that.
Well,
I'm interested. I don't know. When was this? How long ago?
I know you're interested. I don't know if she will be. I've not told her that I would be talking to potentially thousands.
How long ago was this?
Did she ask
morning.
you to stop beating her again? Come on. I was wondering. I mean, that's a lot of times you argue with her.
Why do people in Grand Rapids laugh so much at that joke?
They love domestic violence.
Nothing makes people in Grand Rapids laugh more than domestic violence. No, we've just been in a little bit.
Careful. Be careful. I'm not sure if I would share this.
Okay, can I talk about you? So
Sure.
no, we have been, I think, potentially a little bit of a rut. We have been married for 11 years, and a few things have just gotten routine, and we haven't gone on vacation. We haven't spent time with each other. And when you're married for that long, we have 3 kids. I think just you start doing things rather than being a part of stuff. And so we're just making decisions instead of caring about each other, spending some time with each other and talking to each other. And so I felt a little disrespected, and I think she did too. And she's been through a lot. Like my wife's had like the worst not worse, but like the toughest 2 years. She had cancer, a double mastectomy, all this stuff. And so I probably haven't handled that well. And so, yeah, way to start a podcast.
That's I'm
blowing everybody out. So we talked about all kinds of things that happen in marriage. So With that being said, though, I was thinking about you guys as I was.
We're not getting any more details on the argument.
What do you want? I'm not going to go into. No, I'm not.
Okay.
I said that we're going to run a little bit.
Got it.
I'm not going to go into more than that. I love my wife and I want to stay married. But I want to talk about, so maybe we go into more details about you guys because I came up with a game.
Okay.
Okay. About marriage. This is called Rate My Marriage.
Rate?
Rate.
Oh.
Come on with that.
I didn't know
What
what
the hell is wrong? You do know the word
I
rate.
thought, what the hell were you talking about?
You are a pastor. Anyway, this is called, I came up with a game today. It's called Rate My Marriage. Rate My Marriage. All right. Good God. Okay. So here's basically what I want to do. I want you guys, we won't write it down. Well, Matt, you can write this down. Yeah, we can write it down on your computer or whatever. But I want you to rate down what you think. Like each of us rate. I'm going to ask a question about your marriage, and then you rate what you think the other person.
All right, well, give me a
from
ballpark. What's zero?
Zero from your rating could be 0 to 9.9.
Is zero like we want our spouse to be dead when we
the
get home?
zero is that you hope they aren't alive when you get home, and then 9.9 is just like unreal, like clean house, no money problems, every sexy thought is fulfilled, all that stuff. And the arguments always are just amazing.
You
And
just
they
described the perfect wife.
right. That's
A clean
9.9.
house, and she fulfills all of her
That's almost my
sexual
wife.
dreams.
That's almost my wife.
Wow.
So, all right,
Priscilla,
so-
if you're listening, I think way more wife stuff. So,
all right. So the
Yeah.
marriage question tonight. We'll only ask one question. Rate what you think each other's sex life is.
Each other's
I'm going to
goods.
rate Matt's sex life.
Yeah, with his marriage, how good or bad do you think it
And
is?
I write down what it actually is.
You write it down
From
for
my point of
Now,
view.
here's a big question, though. What Bridget thinks of their sex life or what Matt thinks? Because his.
Bridget's not here.
Okay. So, how satisfied Matt is.
I want you to rate what you think Matt's sex life is.
Is he
like.
trying
And
to
then-
get the what I think it is or what it really is?
Right. You need to say what it really is, and then Joey's going to try and guess that. And I'm going to try and guess yours too. We'll guess for each other.
Did you just come up with this?
My number's written down.
For your marriage. What about you? Did you guess ours?
I can do that next.
Okay. That's how you play the game. And you guys can guess. Oh, I'll take numbers out here.
Have you ever wished that you kept track of how many times you've had sex with your wife? It's just interesting.
Okay, let's get on with the game, man. All right, so you just write down the number of yourself and the other two people. Okay, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I'm ready. I got mine.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I know a little bit about you guys, so I'm gonna go. Okay. All right. First of all, let's let the crowd just yell it out. What do you think, from a scale of 0 to 9.9, Matt and his wife's sex life is like? Yell it out.
9! 6.9.
Heard a lot of 69s.
Y'all are too kind.
Heard a lot of 69s. All right.
I was honestly, because Matt is so strategic in his thinking and could probably rationalize why it's so unbelievable and how, man, if I'm having an orgasm, then that's a success. I'm gonna say a 7.
You did 7 even.
Yep.
4.3.
And you want to know my answer?
Yeah, what's the true answer?
I got 3.3.
Give them details.
Well, that's about 1/3 where I want it to be.
You can't put that on Bridget.
I didn't say that.
No, it's not about.
That's definitely not the case.
That's what he thinks. Okay, what do y'all think about me? The crowd, what do you think about me?
6.
Oh,
I got a better initial right here. I've got you at 7.2.
I've got you at a 6.
7.5. It's pretty good. Our sex life was great. I'm pretty happy. There's always be a few things more. There's always could be a few
This
things
is such
more.
an incomplete conversation. I would love to hear what
It's
Jess
not a
has to say.
conversation, it's a game.
Just saying.
Next.
Joey.
I'll talk a little bit more
Huh?
if you want. Go
No,
ahead.
I think it'd be great to hear what Jessica would say. Because if you say
Oh,
It
it,
would
yeah,
be
for sure.
awesome. What do you want to do, caller?
I guarantee you,
yes.
100% all of them would say well under 5. For sure.
Sure, I think me and Bridget agree. We talk about it every day.
I would that. Now
And
that's
we have it written on our wall. we just can't do better. We're working on it.
Is it permanent? It's not good. You can't erase it. All right. What about Joey? What do you guys think, Grandma? Nice. I said 6.6.
Okay.
5.0.
All right, I actually have a 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Well, I would say it would even be higher. I think with 4 kids, we're trying to figure out a higher frequency. I'm telling you, when we do it, it's good, man. So like quality, I would rate it a 9. Quantity, a little lower. You know, I mean, I'm telling you, all right. So there was one time where, there's some
Quantity 7.
we have a smaller
quantity 7.
we have
quantity
a
1.
we have a smaller townhouse, okay? And I'm not going to sell myself or my wife out. I would just say that one time there was a knock, 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 and we were like, "Who is it?" And Gwenny was like, "It's me, Gwenny." We're like, "What do you want?" I'm scared. I just woke up to. And we were like, "Crap." She was worried that mommy was hurt. I'm not gonna say mommy. It could have been daddy. I'm telling you, my parents, they did a hell of a job in hiding all that stuff from my brother and I. Like I talked to people in high school and they would say, "Man, I'm about to kill myself. I heard my parents doing it last night. It's driving me crazy." And I was like, "Man, my parents never." There's only one time, well, actually 2 times, and Toby was a part of one of them.
We gotta clear that up.
I'll clear it up in a second. All right, so there's one time, I don't know if y'all ever heard of the band called Bread back in the 70s. So one time my dad came to me and my brother, and I was probably like, I don't know, 9. My brother was 11. My dad said, "You listen here, boys." He's like, "I've been away on a trip. Your mom and I, we're going to go in our room. The door's going to be locked, and we're listening to music together. Do not knock on the door." And we seriously like, "Oh, okay, enjoy your music." We had no idea. We just never even thought of our parents having sex. And then this was great, though. So Toby has not seen my dad for, I don't know, 4 years. And so we knock at my parents' front door.
It's like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night.
Yeah, so my dad opens the door, sticks his head through, and sees Toby. He's like, "Oh, hey, Toby." And then he looks at me like,
"Hey, Virgil, how you doing, man? Great to see you."
he's like, "Hey." And then he looks at me for like, what are you doing here for? And I was like, "Oh, you haven't seen Toby in like 4 years." He's like, "Oh, okay, hi."
Yeah.
We're like,
And I said, "Where's Barbara?" He's like, "She's in the bedroom. She's already laying down." All right, well, see you later.
I moved that, and y'all took off. That was that.
"Did you ever hear your parents have sex?"
Nope, not once.
Did they? They probably only had sex like 3 times.
Procreation only.
We actually, Toby and I had a roommate that was so hard-headed, and he wanted to argue with me that God created sex only for procreation. It was a sin to do it out of enjoyment. Do you remember that? We actually had a huge argument. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
It has to be for enjoyment, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if it was for procreation, you would just say, "Hey, let's go to the bathroom. Let's have a kid." Boom, boom, boom. Okay, see you later. There wouldn't be any kind of.
Does anybody have a question?
I guess that's so.
We're off to an intense start. Any questions? Seriously,
We
I'd love to.
from breast cancer to great sex.
Yeah. I will say that here's the funny thing, and we've talked about this before on the podcast. For sure, in the Christian world, I grew up very conservative Christian, and my parents said, "Just don't have sex. It is a sin. You don't do that. You don't masturbate. You don't do this. You don't do that. You don't do all these things." And then when you get married, you're like, "Oh, this is going to be unbelievable. I've waited, and this is going to be crazy." And then you're like, "Oh, I don't know one damn thing I'm doing right now. I don't know anything." And so you learn that as you get married, that you have to figure out how to even talk about sex. Like that's what I was going to say. I really do believe that my wife and I's sex life is great. It really is. She's an amazing woman. I'm not these numbers we're just kind of even being silly here, but it is hard sometimes to figure out like even what you say to each other while you're having sex.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, isn't that weird? Like you're naked. You think, "Oh, I'm the most comfortable with this person of anybody in the world," and I can't even say, "I'm gonna bone you hard right now." Seriously, like you have anxiety over that.
Oh, I know what Jessica says. She's like,
"No,
I can't breathe.
no.
Can I please be on top? Oh God, I can't breathe."
You're
on fire tonight.
Yeah,
this is great.
Yeah, you're having sex with Priscilla going, my love for you will always live. I cannot wait. My penis I give. And she's like, please let this be over. Oh my God.
How many people do we have married in the zone tonight? Close to half, that is.
Somebody just said, "Oh shit." Are they uncomfortable?
Oh! Well, I mean, that's
Oh shit.
you know, that's part of the thing. I'd love to get, what do you really think the average is across the spectrum of people's, not even just their sex life, but where their marriages are? I don't think everybody's in the 70s, is what I'm saying.
Well, I think we've talked about this before
If you
too.
ask any individual here, are you 7+ in your marriage rating? I bet their hand will go
You're
up.
talking about just in general, not sex. You're saying just
in
happy
general,
in your marriage.
in general.
Wow.
But do you really think that's where it is? Because they say the divorce rate is between 30 and 50% or something like that. But I'm figuring if that's the divorce rate, the unhappiness rate,
Yeah.
people that are under 5.0 in marital satisfaction, well, that's probably in the 60, 70, 80% rate. Don't you think?
Here's my
That's
theory.
what I think.
My theory is couples that have been married less than 30 years, the highest percentage of happy times they experience in a year is 50%. So 50% of their year is just great. Oh, marriage is great. The other 50%, not so great. We've had some. But I think once you get past 30 years, the potential is there for you just to kind of be happy a lot. Because it's just like, you finally get to a point where you're just like, you know what? He's always going to be that way. He's screw it. Let's just do life together. Good Lord. Let's just have community. It's like our small group. And we get to have sex too. We get to have a small group.
They're starting to build houses with dual master suites. Now that's getting more and more, and it sounds kind of nice. It's not that crazy.
I'm saying there's a reason, and I'll identify this, but there's a reason why it's so funny to watch George Costanza's parents on Seinfeld.
Right.
There's a reason why that's funny. It's not because they're so out there and so weird and they don't remind you of you or your parents. It's because they do. I think that's probably the way it is.
Oh, for sure. But that's the thing. Here's the thing I thought.
That's the not divorced. Frank and Estelle Costanza are the not divorced people.
Right, but that's the only time like it's shown to be hilarious and you laugh at it. Yeah. And I don't think anybody really thinks that because just when I was growing up, it was all rom-coms and what love is this crazy thing where it got mixed up and you love each other, but it's not going to work out. But then in the end, it does, and then you have this awesome wedding day, and then the movie ends, or all this stuff, and nobody tells you about divorce unless divorce is kind of kept quiet on stuff. And so I think if there are low numbers in marriage, it's because the expectations are outrageous and silly. It's not so marriage is hard. Friendship's hard, work's hard, all these things are hard. Why would your marriage be always just, oh man, it's so wonderful and a fairy tale? Yeah. It's not. It's way less than that. And that probably makes it even more real. It should if we didn't have these silly expectations that weren't true, it'd be way better.
Yeah, the more you believe in fairy tales, probably the worse. But that's why I think I could make a killing selling divorce insurance. Personally.
Yeah, you talked about this.
Yeah.
I think it's a great
I think you
idea.
can make a killing in that. I just don't really understand why anybody hasn't done it. I probably don't have the what do they say, bandwidth to do it. So I'm probably not starting this, but I'll put this out there for anybody. Think of it this way: if you're a young couple and you're starry-eyed and you think we will never get divorced, this is the happiest time of our life. Here's what I want to do, or some investor, some Silicon Valley guy, somebody's starting a startup. They're going to raise a bunch of investment capital and say, you know what? I believe in you guys too. So I know it's hard times. I know you're young. I know you're starting a family. I believe in you too. I'm going to give you $20,000 to start your life together. So they can use that for the wedding. They can use that for the house down payment, whatever they want to do. But knowing the statistical rates of divorce and stuff like that, you have a penalty for the people who swear they're never going to get divorced. So I've got a penalty built in there. It's like $75,000 if you get divorced. You see, but if you're not going to get divorced, you're going to take my money and you're going to be happy forever because you're so confident about it. So I'm going to give you the $20,000, and I'm making these numbers up. I had to use some actuaries to figure out exactly what the numbers would be. Haven't done the research yet, but if you don't get divorced, you'll keep my money forever. It'll start your family. That's great. But since I know statistically so many people will get divorced and want to bank on that fact, Here's the thing why it wouldn't even be that predatory of a business, because when you get divorced, we all know the lawyers get all the money, it financially falls apart, and it becomes a huge disaster. And by the time they get divorced, they probably built up their family and their house. You know, they have equity and money by the time they get divorced. It's 7 years in, it's 10 years in. And so there's really no loser. So I'm not even really the bad guy, because I take my cut before the divorce lawyers do anyway. That's the way the contract writes up. You see,
Right.
and so, because you know when you get divorced when you're 37, 38, it's kind of like, oh, it's all screwed up. You lose all your money. You start over anyway, kind of thing. So it's a way to reward people to stay together, first of all. So I find it somewhat of an altruistic business opportunity, because it rewards people to stay together, because there's a penalty if you get divorced. And it helps young couples when they start. And I'm probably going to get rich.
The moral
nothing.
dilemma
No, there's no moral
of you
dilemma.
being a Christian and saying,
It's not-
I hope they get a divorce.
No, it's
I
not.
get
What I'm saying
paid."
is the moral dilemma is I'm pro-morality, that all they got to do is stay together, which is what I want them to do.
Do you?
So either I
Okay, hold on,
save
let me-
marriage in
let me-
America, or I
Let
get
me
rich.
back you in a corner, all
No,
right?
I don't want you to back me in
If
a corner.
you
I want you
start
to
this-
be my investor.
If you start
Don't
this,
back me into a corner.
if you start this and no one gets a divorce, you're bankrupt.
Then I've saved marriage. I'm a martyr. It's good. Then I've saved. How many marriages have I saved?
But nobody, if you actually had that business, nobody would want to hang out with you ever, because you'd be coming around and you'd be like, yeah, how's things going with you? And Jess, she could be a real jerk.
I would have some field agents out there sowing some
You're a good dude.
seeds of bitterness out there.
Some
That's what I would
seeds
do.
of bitterness.
All right, who has a question or a comment or anything? Let's get this going. Who has the biggest balls in the room and wants to start this up? In the back. Y'all pass this back to him back there. This is gonna be good.
If you were a fart for Jesus, what would you be? What type of fart?
Wow.
I think I would be like a silent but violent for God's kingdom. Like, I wouldn't want all the attention, man. I would just want to be humble and kind of be below the surface and just make big splashes for God's kingdom.
It's got a shark.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let
Just
that one in
stink
there.
up the universe
Yeah.
for Jesus.
How about another question?
All right, so I listened to your last podcast this morning, and I'm not totally convinced on this no help.
Oh, yeah, we're actually going to talk about that.
Let's do it right
tonight.
now.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
5 minutes.
A lot of people aren't convinced on that.
A lot of people on this
side.
side of the table aren't so convinced.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it for you for whenever you talk about it.
No, we're talking about it now.
we're
Yeah,
good.
that's
Let's
I'm
do
glad
that.
you
All right,
brought
so
that up.
I already have people worried about me and
What's your Christian? What's your name?
My name's Ethan.
Ethan. What's your thoughts on that?
he wants people to burn in hell forever.
Not at all. Not at all. It's just like, I'm working through it in
Right.
my own head, so I don't really know what I think. It's an interesting thought, what you bring to the table. I just want to know more.
Yeah, I guess first I would say that, well, I would just be reiterating what I said on the podcast. I'm going to believe whatever I feel is true. And it just so happens, I mean, I believe in the traditional view of hell that people are in conscious torment for eternity. I believed that for 37 and a half years of my life, and I'm 38 years old. And really listening to a different translation of scripture. And
You were
not,
6 months old. You believe people were going to
yeah.
That's cold.
I was a very colicky baby. It just did not work for me. I was just so
Dude,
sad.
that's
Always crying.
You better turn.
Right.
Better
Right.
follow Jesus.
No, to me now it's weird, but you know, so many of us are so quick to say, well, wait a second, you just can't dodge tradition, all that stuff, yet we're all believing in something that all of a sudden Martin Luther changed tradition after hundreds and hundreds of years. He said, well, wait a second.
So there is
We've got to
precedent
start-
for the entire church and its subsequent people to change on the dime.
Yes.
That there is precedent for such.
Yes. And I just know, and
using the Bible and Scripture and exegesis as a basis for such a turn on a dime.
right. And
Right? Like that's something.
Yeah, and I'll say this, like I'm big time into authority and submitting to it, and so it means a lot to me that there are some very smart, very conservative evangelical Christians that read the Bible and they're like, whoa, wait a second, I've been wrong all this time. Like, this isn't this view that I feel like I'm acquiring. It's not this crazy thing that people are just like, oh, the Bible, who needs that? Let's just push it aside. It's like, wait a second, the Bible's been saying something differently all along. We've been missing it. So here, I'll just throw 2 examples out. The wages of sin is death. The free gift of God's eternal life. Why do we assume, oh, well, by death he means alive forever, just burning in hell?
Or
it seems like he just says death.
The one
Or
that I heard today, the John 3:16, is so
for God so loved the world,
he gave his only begotten Son, so that we would have eternal life.
eternal life. So that
Not
means
so that
that-
we would spend eternal life on one side versus the other.
right. Yeah. Right.
Now, for the record, I don't agree. I'm more with, what's your name?
Ethan.
Ethan. I'm more with Ethan. I'm much more comfortable believing people have eternal conscious torment.
And
forever.
fire.
You're way more comfortable with
At this
that.
time, that's way more comfortable
Wow.
for
I
me.
think most Christians are
But
really
I
down to
hear some
fireworks.
which is bizarre. But I think the interesting question is, it really brings up whether it's this point or not. First of all, does it matter? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't.
Totally matters.
Okay, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't. But it's just, this one's a real weird one because it comes up in the time that we're in, this postmodern time. It comes up in a time when people are looking for stuff that you can be accused of, oh, you're just looking for feel-good doctrines or
I'm
whatever.
going to turn the table on you and say your view of traditional hell is heresy. You son of a bitch.
What I'm saying is I haven't really ever thought through it. But I do agree with you that there is premise, there is precedent for changing orthodoxy.
Right.
There is. So I don't believe that you have to adhere to whatever was before you. I don't.
Yeah.
I like anti-authoritarian stuff. I like new thinking. I like that line of thinking. But this one I find,
Here's what's interesting
I find
is
it shocking and crazy, and I don't want to jump there.
Yeah.
I hope I don't. I'll feel so stupid if a month from now agree with you. I'll feel so stupid.
Well,
You know what I mean? Because
Thank you
I'm
very
just
much.
trying to dissect the philosophical part of it, because
no, you're not.
I will
You're
feel
not.
silly if I thought this thing and then I thought a different thing. But I'm not saying your view's right, but it's interesting that you can change your point of view, and maybe that's a good thing.
Right. Well, what I disagree with is you said that you're interested in dissecting philosophy, and no, you're not. When it comes to this viewpoint, you shun all philosophy, because I've even said before, I've said, look, let's just ask this question, and it's worth considering. And you're like, no, it's not. The question of what is the point? What does God gain by having people tortured forever and ever? Like, what is the benefit? What does God get to be like, okay, forever these people are in pain? I checked that off my list. Now, I believed in that my whole life, basically, and I still tried to be a good Christian, serving God, yielding to Jesus' grace and all that stuff. So it's not like I was like, screw you, God, I'm not going to follow you because of this. But that's a logical question. Why? What good is that?
Do we have any atheists in here? Like, holy shit, where did I come from? Anybody here? No brave atheist. There's an atheist here. So
No, no.
Hey, raise your hand if you're a Christian.
There for sure is people here.
Raise your hand if you're not. There you go. That was a lot easier.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's for sure people here who think that the notion of hell and punishment in the eternal ways total.
Raise your hand if you believe in eternal conscious torment in hell.
Oh, come on.
Come on.
That's a non-starter. Nobody's gonna raise their hand for that.
Well, here's the thing that I understand both points, and I guess I would say on some level I'm in the middle.
Oh,
But
that's so admirable.
It does
of you.
seem really crazy. It seems really silly to me to an extent where we have a God that is the creator of all. He made the earth and people and the universe and all this amazing things and light years and all this stuff. But we all totally just quickly realize, or we totally know that it just goes, oh man, you're shitty. I'm chucking you right in that hell. I'm going to chuck you in fire. That'll show them. I mean, there's way more. There's a million worse things than a pit of fire that you could come up with if you were the creator of everything. So that seems a little bit outrageous to say, oh, this is our God can create all this stuff, but his big torment was a lake of fire. Like, that seems lame. Like, wouldn't it be
bad?
It's the simplest thing you could think of. Well, I mean, burning.
What, like your testicles and pliers or something?
Sure. Imagine your testicles being ripped off for eternity. That would have been also awful and a little bit more creative. For sure. It would be. That would be that God. I'm like, ooh, I've not seen it. That sounds freaky. A fire lake. Yeah, of course it's bad, but that just seems really archaic and simple if you're going to talk about the whole God of creation. So I am more along the lines of hell potentially exists. It's not what we think. Same as heaven, same as this life. I mean, right now I feel like we accept so many things in this world that don't have to be. They're not even true.
Let me ask you this, Matt. If you read all Scripture, I don't mean you as in Matt, I mean you in general. If you read all Scripture, you can say, you know what, 50% of the verses point towards a traditional view, 50% point towards more of a annihilationist point of view. What would you say makes more sense philosophically as far as what God would do with human souls that do not conform to His will?
I don't think that really has anything to do with it. I think there's two ways that I would like to look through this. Number one is, I don't put these in order, but the only two ways that I know how to put it is, number one, there's what do I think Scripture's saying, regardless of how I like it.
Right.
What did I think this word means, that word means, or what that writer was trying to say? However I sort through that, that's number one. And then number two, I assume I'm an idiot, and so I therefore need to and trust this council or this meeting or where they declared this a heresy, and the people that are smarter than me today in the 1500s and 360, I have to use that as well. Yeah. And then the last thing that I almost really don't want to consider at all is, what do I think about the God that I would want to serve? That has to go almost the lowest. That means almost nothing. Like to put, you know what I mean?
Unless you consider that God made you a person that would be attracted to the Creator.
No, I think human biases are the worst. I mean, they lead to every bad thing. What humans want to believe seems like the silliest possible thing. So I have to be careful to not gravitate toward everything that feels good.
Any further questions in this subject area?
Be careful.
Any further questions?
Investigate something like that.
Anybody want to ask questions about fiery sulfur?
All right, anybody else have another question?
Right here.
We're moving to a new direction.
While he's talking, I do think still, back to my point, are you seriously like 1,100,000 years from now, I'm going to be going, it's still hurting. Oh my God, this lake fire is bad. I mean, that just sounds absurd.
So you're going to hell?
No, I'm just, that's a side note. I hope not. But I'm just saying, that sounds bizarre.
The most convincing argument that I think Toby and I really
do you want to see a movie with the worst part of a horror movie where it's a lake of fire, or you want to watch Hostel 2? Which is the more creative, crazy thing? People that just fall in a fire lake, or people getting their genitals cut off? Go ahead.
Joey, what does your church think about the podcast? Did you have to meet with them before, or are you planning on them contacting you after?
My church does not know about this. And my real name is Herman Malchus.
If you guys can keep on the DL, we sure would appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate it. No, I've had open conversations with our leaders. They're not totally comfortable with it. And they're not near close to a point where they're saying you can't do both. So it's one of those things to where I really do respect our church, because they're willing to say, yeah, we're not totally comfortable with it, but we know you. And we also don't want to be so close-handed with controlling everything. So Toby and I really work at a really awesome church. So I'm not saying that it would never get to the point where they're just like, yeah, these two things, they just don't mesh well. There's too many people leaving Seacoast.
And the better question, if they did, what do you do then? I mean, that's the real question. Like,
if they said, choose,
I just start begging people to join the BC Club.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's an interesting question. I won't make you come down too hard on it. But if it was like, yeah, what you already have done, what's already in your archive, and what it seems like you're going to do is more than we can tolerate now that we've investigated it, right? What we need you to do is go to Matt and Toby and tell them, y'all got to tone it down 40% if you want to continue.
Yeah.
What would you do?
I would just follow the Holy Spirit's prompting.
No, I'm serious. I'm serious. What would you do? Like, what would that, like, would it be better for you to bow? Like, what would it mean to tone down what we do?
brother, I would follow.
I'm
the
asking
Holy
you a serious
Spirit.
question. I'm asking you a
No,
serious
Joey's trying to
question.
avoid the question because he doesn't want to answer.
No, I'll answer the question. I was just ignoring it. So what?
What? Like, it's not that crazy. If they ask you, hey, what you're doing, we think it's kind of cool. Like reaching the fringe, and you're out there with the crazy.
Is that how my pastor
Yes,
talks?
I've talked
He
to
does
him.
his
That's
hand like
exactly
this?
what he's
Wow.
like. And he says, I need you to tone it down a lot. And you got to back off on this, this, and this. You can't say this word. You can't do this, and you can't challenge these paradigms anymore. But you can continue to do the podcast. What do you do with me and Toby or your job?
Well, I would definitely say, hey, I feel a deeply rooted conviction.
Right, but he's not
that we
listening to
can't
you. This is an
neutralize this.
ultimatum that comes down to you
An ultimatum?
from them. I'm saying you could, with like,
Oh, there's already a pretty general understanding, and here's the admirable thing of our church leaders. They recognize that what we're doing is unique enough to where it has to continue. So I think we would figure out how to part those two things. But where I stand right now, I think the two can coexist for a while.
ooh, we're on the borderline sometimes, I think. But you know,
Well, go ahead and end it all. Say the most horrible,
I'm not-
vulgar thing possible
I'm not,
right
but-
now.
I'll put it this way: I'm glad you got your toe in the Uber.
It's interesting that you asked that question because you asked that question assuming no church would let us work there, right? I mean, because
Right, I agree.
because
I
the
would say
things we
most.
talk about, and the words we say, and the word, right? That I mean,
So transfer it. Joey goes to you. He goes, "We need to tone it back 40%."
Right.
What's your counter offer to Joey? You say, "Okay, we'll tone it down 10%, but we can't do that." What do you say to him?
okay, clarifying this so that everybody knows, our church has not asked us to do
Of
this.
course
We've
not.
had several conversations, so this isn't about our church. I really actually believe our church seacoasted, which maybe I hope they still want us to say their name, but or it might be the only church in America that would allow us to do this.
At
I
that
believe-
size. At that size.
No, maybe any church. I
No,
don't
there's a
know.
lot of churches that follow us and love us, and there's small
Who?
churches.
Name one.
Grace Bread Church.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I don't know of one off the top of my head, and I don't know why they would, and maybe they should. That's okay. We might be
Cell
really,
and Molecule Church.
we might be leading everybody astray, so don't listen to what we have to say. But I would say for me at this point, anybody here that would raise their hand and say they're a Christian, if we're not wrestling with something and we're just accepting it, then it's real bad. You only got about.
But can you
I wouldn't
accept
finish.
dialing it back?
Can I finish?
Yeah, can you
Can I
finish,
finish?
you piece
Can I
of
talk?
shit?
Joey can't even say go to hell anymore.
Oh, really?
Annihilation, bitch.
Annihilate yourself.
Bitch. You don't exist in that for me.
See you never.
I'm gonna exist forever. But I think that is the thing that our podcast is about, is that we have to do more and take a little bit more ownership and say these things. So with your question that you asked, I feel like at this point, if I don't do something like this, then I'm lying. I'm not being totally truthful. I want people to really know me. We've said this before. They say on your deathbed, one of the most things that everybody says is nobody actually really knew me. And what that means is you're scared for somebody to really know you. What the hell is that? That's wild thought that nobody actually knew how shitty you were. Is that what you're scared of? That somebody would have something on you or whatever? So I think I would rather people go, man, Toby's not that cool. He's shitty. He does bad stuff. He's not a good husband. All these different things than to not know me. I mean, those things are maybe even okay. They're not right, but it might be okay. And so I think for me, for somebody to say, hey, tone this down and censor this, because that would be a lie.
Yep.
And that would be more wrong than doing it.
Right.
To me.
So if Joe asked you to back it down, could you back it down 5% though? Probably.
Yeah, I could do that.
Okay. That's what I'm asking.
I probably should though.
Right.
I'm all for wisdom and changing my life and getting better.
Because the counter to that is I'm under no authority. Fuck them. I do what I do.
Hell yeah.
Right? I mean that sounds crazy when I say it out loud. But on the other hand,
Who is them, by the way?
the establishment, the
Yeah.
plan, the church,
Mark Driscoll.
all of them. The cops,
Lord, Joey.
Baltimore, everybody.
Obama.
Fucking Ferguson, everything.
Oh, God. This is pretty bad.
Calm down, dude.
Good Lord.
Okay, you won. I can't work for Seacoast anymore. That's bullshit.
All right, that's we're gonna take a break here. We're gonna talk to our sponsors for a second and tell people about them. And mainly, I got a piece so bad you can't even believe it. So yeah, I got second, and then after that, the crowd can go next, and we'll be down here in about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is it?
This is awkward. I've never had this many people looking at me while I have to go urinate. Okay. We'll be right back. Thank you guys.
Quality life has got me down. Well, it's cheap and gone. Still working on the side. Well, there's nothing miserable. So I always know I need to let my heart feel something. Let my memory run home. If the days all I can do is keep going. But there's no so I keep drinking myself sick. It's still every God going to the I don't feel that. Good job, man. Thank you, sir.
Two-minute alert. 2-minute alert.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I would suggest.
Hey guys.
I think I'm assessing what I'm just saying, what is good or not is what I'm looking for. Because this is what's going here. It's coherent. That's what's the better you go, the better I'll do. Yeah.
Hi, everybody!
All right, thank you for quieting down.
Let's do sound effects.
All right, everybody urinate and get the blood back through your butt cheeks.
We can do it in your back, or lay chair, or we can use a
Do we lose something? Feel like we lost something.
We pissed them off. We pissed them off. You stop, please.
I'm just having fun with the sound effects.
And we're back!
It's so crazy. Like at halftime, we always feel differently with how things are going. It's unbelievable to me.
This is halftime?
Yep.
We're in the third quarter now?
Yep. We're entering the
All
third
right,
quarter.
who's winning? Me, you, and Toby, or these clowns out here?
You know, we're all on the same team.
Okay.
We're all on the same team. So the question is,
Everybody gets a
we
participation trophy.
are we winning together? Are we in community? Are we connecting? Are we pouring into each other? That is right. That's the question.
The question is, what do you want to do for the rest of the night? I haven't gotten the wildest response from people that they have questions and want to chime in, which is
Okay.
shit.
So damn.
You guys are the classic slow starters here. You just need a little bit of challenge, and then of course everybody in here is going to ask a question. And the one guy raises his hand and then shoots a gun finger at me. So that he must be the guy that wants to talk the most. So let's find out what you want to talk about, Mister. What's your name?
Toby. I'm Brett.
Brett.
Matt and Toby, you guys have talked about being in a Christian band.
That's right.
And in the beginning,
Great,
you talked
great
about.
hair.
Hey, so do you, Toby. Not bad.
Thank you, man.
You guys talked about in the beginning of Emory, you guys would preach from stage a lot. And you've talked about toning that down a little bit as you guys got a little bit older.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a perfect model for being a Christian ministry band, or do you think it's kind of case-by-case basis, or how do you feel about that?
Well, let's dissect what preaching from stage means. In general, when people say preach from stage, I guess they're just talking about, like, if you say anything at all about God or Jesus from stage, you will be accused of preaching. And even if you don't, even if you say something semi-moral from stage instead of just make some fucking noise, then you'll get accused of preaching from stage.
Right.
But well, I'm talking like it's not preaching. Like to preach would be like, what does it mean biblically to preach? It means like I'm not really sure. I think people debate that, but could it mean like you have to give a gospel invitation and really
Altar call.
an altar call, and you tell scripture and you go really deep in? I don't know if almost any band really does that. Well, I'll tell you what, Wolves at the Gate kind of does that.
Sleeping Giant. Sleeping Giant.
Sleeping
too.
Giant
Yeah.
kind of does that.
There's a few.
But
They cut a song in order to preach the gospel.
Well, what I'm saying is, it typically in our scene, bands get accused of preaching for saying the simplest little thing, like from stage. And so,
I read Steve Kabuchi preaches for sure.
yeah, Steve Kabuchi preaches from stage. But in general, when even we say we were preaching from stage, it was probably just a mention. It was probably just a slight this or 3 or 4 sentences that kind of thing. And we really don't do it much anymore, you know. And so I don't know if preaching, it's a bit weird that if you did think that was your job, like that's a crazy. I mean, is it kind of not like unlike a street preacher who's preaching, but there's not really anybody listening, is what you kind of feel like. Because there's only 2 categories of people at your show. There's the people who want to be validated by the fact that you're going to say a certain thing from stage because they're already the choir. as
Say
you would say.
Jesus, man.
Right, they're already the choir, and there's the people that are not going to listen to it regardless. And so I'm not sure which. It feels after you kind of investigate that field for a little bit, you figure like, who am I talking to? Who am I even talking to? There's the people that already love what I'm saying to no effect, and then the people that I'm pushing farther away. That's the way it feels in a rock club when you start to talk about it.
Also, since he's the guitar player and never had to say a damn word, nobody listens to the guitar player.
That's why I started a podcast.
Hey, I want to say that I have not
The
been.
pastor interrupts me.
I've been to like 5% of all of Emory's shows. No, probably 1% or less than that. And I was able to witness the first time you ever said the F word, and it was in Australia. And what did you say? It was the best thing ever. Everybody do what?
Get your fucking hands up. So, when you start out and you're in the Christian world, you do feel some obligation because there's a pressure there. And so there's a ton of bands that feel like I'm a Christian and I have this microphone, so I have to proclaim the gospel in a way. But that is absurd. In any other profession, you would hate that. If a guy leaned up from your engine and said, "Hey man, your alternator's messed up. This is gonna be $300." You know, Jesus is your personal Lord. Get the hell out of here, dude. You can't cut me a deal or what? You know, any other job. If a plumber turned around and you saw a plumber crack and he's trying to share the gospel, no thank you. No thank you at all. Why? Because you have a microphone, would that automatically, we should be entitled to proclaim the gospel? Like, that is what is meant by proclaiming the gospel. There's a million different ways to proclaim the gospel. And so I actually started feeling weird because when I said something about Jesus from stage, it was only for the people that believed in Jesus and they would cheer. And that just felt so fake, so not right. And it totally just put a bunch of people in the audience like, man, what's happening here? I came to see a show. So for me, it just started feeling not real. I thought that was way worse than me getting over myself and hanging out with a fan after a show and saying, hey, so that is why we started stop doing it. And then half the time, if I talk about God, it's usually at a Christian festival where I feel like I have an anger against them because of what's going on, and I chastise them inappropriately, wrongly, for sure.
You asked for someone to meet you outside after the show to fight.
Yeah, for sure. It was a Christian. But Christian festivals we played a ton of them, and they're awesome. But I want to make sure that people understand the reason why you start a band is to be in entertainment and to create and for people to like your music. And then this other thing that you're doing, you can put that in there, but I don't care I don't care about your veganism if you're in a band. I don't care about, your politics or all this other stuff. I like your damn song. So that's what I want to hear, and that's what I want to be. And it's okay to be who you are, maybe off stage, but when you're promoting that, whoever it is, that feels more like an agenda than, hey, we're here together and you like me and what I created. Let's be there.
Or potentially a cheat code. Like if you say
right.
Jesus, if you allow yourself to play at churches, if you accept the benevolence of the church crowd, then that can be a shortcut to getting people to allow you to play in front of 100
It's a vicious cycle. You
kids.
can't get out.
Yeah. So
You grow up in a
that's
youth
just-
group, and then all of a sudden you're in a band and you start touring around churches. How do you get out of it? You can't. You just can't.
It can be a shortcut for fans. Say, well, if we do churches, we'll get more shows. If we cater to this crowd, we can play in front of these people. It can be a difficult thing, and plus there's pressure and guilt and obligation all built into that.
Yeah, and
So-
now the church is known for creating shitty music.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what how did that happen? Because there's a message. What the hell does that mean? I'd way rather you kick ass on guitar than tell me about the Lord. That sounds horrible, but that's true. That's true. If I'm a Christian, I should be studying about the Lord myself and figuring that out and all those things. I don't need this weird song that says something about a mountain. Anyway, all right. Tony,
All right, Tony,
you
what's
ask
your
this,
question
Tony?
up here?
There you go.
We're hoping for a subject change.
Tony, what's your last name, man?
Gephardt?
Awesome. Yeah. Tony G. Oh,
That's what they called me in middle school in choir. Tony G, the blind guy. No.
You beat the hell out of him for saying that?
That's what I got the stick for.
There we go.
No, this is revisiting the punishment question from the perspective of a disabled individual. There are a lot of people who think because someone has a disability, they are condemned or being punished for something that they did. I think that's bullshit. I lost my vision 10 years ago. And it was
After
the
you kill
best.
100 people.
Yes. I tripped an old lady, couldn't help it. I didn't see her there. But
So Tony, you lost your vision after having sight for 15 years?
no. I'm 19 now,
Uh-huh.
and I lost my vision right before my 9th birthday from a eye disorder called vitreoretinopathy, and I had a trampoline accident. And it kind of took my vision completely, and I picked up music right away. But that's the thing that I wanted to talk about is, do you think that it's God punishing you, or do you think it's God making you unique? That's my personal opinion. I think the perspective that people are condemned or that they're punished because of a mental disorder, a physical disorder, I think that's bullshit. I don't think that's even an appropriate assumption to make because everyone's unique.
I mean,
Yeah.
Jesus answered that clearly because someone even asked him. They're just like, is this because of that person's sin or the sin of their parents? And he said it wasn't for either. So, yeah, I agree with you. I mean, I do think it's.
And here's another thing I want to bring up. There's a lot of people always tell me, "Oh, I'm praying that you get your vision back. I'm praying that you restore your vision." Blah blah blah. And in my opinion, I don't like that. I hate that. I hate it when people send me Facebook messages or when people hear about my story. They're like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your loss." I'm like, "What loss? I didn't lose anything. I gained knowledge and wisdom through a different way of seeing the world."
Would you call it suffering?
No, or no, I wouldn't. It's, if anything, it's suffering that makes wisdom. I wouldn't even call it bad suffering.
How about initially? I'm really curious because I think it's awesome what you're saying. But when you first lost your sight, would you have considered yourself suffering?
Well, I was 9 years old, so I was traumatized.
Yeah.
As a child, when something like that happens, when you lose a parent, or you're unable to walk, or you find out that you have autism or something like that, it destroys you. You think, oh great, I'm different. I'm the shittiest person in the whole universe. All the kids in school are gonna make fun of me, and and of course that happened to me in elementary school.
Have you experienced people directly telling you that your vision loss is due to your sin? Have you experienced that in a direct way?
Thankfully, no. I have not. I have not been approached by that yet, but I see it.
But
I've
in
seen
an
people-
indirect way, you hear and have experienced people insinuating that about people in general,
Of course.
and then you say that, well, how would that apply to me?
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I don't have anything in my life I'd be like, well, God hates me. There's nothing in my life where that would be true, because God loves the world and we're His children. So I don't know. It's a weird convo that I've had with people, because I always tell people, please don't pray for me. I would never reject
Maybe
prayer.
pray for you, but not for your vision.
More like pray for more wisdom to be stronger and more of a motivation for other people to support these.
All right, so hearing you, really respect what you're saying, so I'm not trying to make light. This is an interesting question to me. Like, what if someone snuck attack you, touched your eyes and said, "Be healed in the name of Jesus," and you could see? Would you be pissed at them?
I actually went to a Pentecostal church for 9 months, and I had the pastor come up to me and 3 other people, they were all surrounding me, touching my head, like, in the name of Jesus, restore this man's vision. And it made me feel so uncomfortable.
Yeah, but if
Like,
it would have worked, would you have been mad?
That's a really good question because I've thought about that before, Joey. Like, if I were to wake up someday and I'd be able to see the green grass on the outside and be able to look up at the sky and see the sun, you know, it's a hard one. I don't want my vision back, as crazy as that sounds. Like, I'm happy the way I am. I think it's a new perspective and a new way of looking at life.
I think the thing is, first of all of us, starting with me, are really off the mark by labeling things disabilities and how we treat that. Like, when you say disability, immediately it really does separate you and immediately puts you in a different class. Or
Yeah,
something
you're
like that.
the group of kids in the lunchroom that no one talks to.
Right.
Yeah.
Even though that's not the case, and that's what I'm saying. Like, you're probably a better musician than me. You know what I mean? Seriously, I'm. And like what you're saying to me is actually pretty encouraging, because I would say you don't look at it as a disability. You look at it as I'm seeing the world.
It's an enhancement.
Right. You're looking at the world differently, and so I think that we make a real mistake with that, and especially in the Christian world. You're right. We see something, and then that's what we go after, as opposed to you have a lot of things that are messed up in your life. You know what I mean? I mean, vision is one of them. I mean, in God's in relationship to God, there's probably a million things that are going on that could be way more helpful for you if they would pray for it. But they see that, like, that, if you got your vision back, you'd be so much better. You'd be fulfilled and whole, and it would be this great testimony and all this stuff. I mean, there's a billion things they could be praying for that would really change your life as well. So I think it's really, I've been reading some articles about different disabilities and autism and even blindness. I listened to a podcast recently about that, where just when we label something as a disability and then we try to help, it actually inhibits people from growing and doing a lot of stuff that they could do totally fine, but we go, oh, they're disabled, so let me just do this, this, and this, and let me, and that's what I think is strange to me, is that why do we have to look at it that way? Why wouldn't we look at the person? And then that's one aspect of a person.
Because it labels somebody as disabled as opposed to the individual. Like, it puts them in a category instead of makes them an individual.
Right.
It says what they're not, kind of thing.
I mean, and it's God's will. I mean, I'm blind for a reason. I can't curse God for that. And that's the thing. Oh, people always jump to is like, oh, well, God's doing this to you. Like, no, God is doing a favor for me, in my opinion. That's the way I see it, because He gave me music. He gave me beautiful people. He gave me a family, and no one has betrayed me. Well, I mean, I have had, of course, tons of people who see me as disabled and they treat me completely different. Like, I have autism and I'm, you know, the weirdo in class, and I don't see it that way. I'm loud. I'm very open-minded. I'll talk about anything. And I think being disabled, I guess, I don't even like that word. Just being blind in general,
Yeah.
I think has given me the ability to be open-minded and have an open heart to anyone, you know?
I think that's pretty cool. Let's give him a hand. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, that's serious. I mean, that's just a perspective that I think we all benefit from.
But I think that's what he was just saying. He just wanted to. He's just being real about it,
Right?
Yeah. Tony, you're just one regular shitty bad
Yeah.
Christian.
That's
man.
right. Yeah.
You're just one other dumbass that listens to this
I do have a
podcast.
question. Is Joey really fat?
Yes.
Joey, can I come touch you?
Yeah, you can.
No,
but, I mean,
no.
You can't even fit your arms around it.
Gravitational pull will bring me in.
Right?
I hope you didn't waste your closing crack on that one, but that was really good. We have another question out here. We'll send this one back in the middle of the room here.
All right, so
Name?
my name is Derek. Given your startup for divorce insurance, do you think that the CEO that it raised the price of a pill from $13.50 to $750? Do you think that's morally detestable, or do you think that's an exciting business opportunity?
Okay. Now, what I'm saying is my startup is pro-moral. I saw the article that you're talking about going on, but what I'm saying is mine is what I intend to do is go bankrupt to increase marital fidelity is what I'm trying to do. And if not, if everybody wants to prove how bad they are, then maybe I'll make a profit off of that. People like that are doing the opposite. And of course, mine's facetious. Mine's a joke, of course. But people. I mean that sounds to me. I don't really know that story, but you're saying somebody had a pill that was $13.50 and now he's trying to buy the rights
Yeah, he
to it.
bought
and
the
they-
rights to it.
Yeah.
And increased it.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's a counter argument to that. So I wouldn't want to weigh in too bad and just make a straw man out of that guy. Probably is a douchebag, right? Has anybody read the article? Is he a douchebag?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then that's probably that.
That's a real thing. It was a cheap pill, and he bought it.
Yeah, he bought some AIDS pill and then raised the price like just $750 a pill.
Wow.
But that's it's just Obamacare for you.
It's all over. All right. Next question.
My name's Mark. A couple of months ago, I think like a month or two, you guys talked about that you believe like John Piper, but you want to love people like Rob Bell. Do you guys still feel like kind of icky that you like are so open to different perspectives and stuff?
First of all, I have no idea who, if we said that. I mean, it's not like I don't even remember.
You actually said that. You
Right.
don't remember anything you said.
What dude says icky? What in the world, sir? My God.
Hey, you say ugly.
That's true. Only grandmas and little kids and Toby. So
Yeah, so when like I first started listening, you guys changed my perspectives on some things. Not just kind of like I didn't really like it. Like even like Joey, I'm changing your perspective on how like you feel. I won't say icky. You feel.
Just totally shitty.
You feel shitty about that, or like?
do I feel shitty about changing
Yeah,
perspective on him?
Wait, why would we? I mean, if those are things we said or things we think, what's the ickiness? Can you
Just because he's like believed something about hell for like 37 and a half years. He's the 6-month-old that wants to think that people are burning in hell. But like, how do you feel about changing a perspective that you've held for so long?
But we have to have said a lot of times that changing your perspective has to be the best possible thing that you're at least able to do such. I think. Like, I'm not saying what I believe next or the third thing I believe from now is maybe the best thing or the right thing, but I am pretty sure that if I'm locked onto what I think, whether I inherited it or I'm just a stubborn person, that sounds weirder. That sounds ickier to me, is to just you're locked on whatever it is and it's not up for negotiation. Or listen, I don't agree with Joey about hell, but maybe I will. But if you can't listen or change, that sounds to me what was really messed up, because you're not actually. I mean, a lot of stuff you believe you have to have inherited or just found out or just accepted without even thinking about it. So the only power you have is to change your belief to some degree, like to be able to assess things clearly. If you never change your mind, that doesn't sound good to me.
Yeah, I don't think it's icky. I think it's like the way to go. Now, I don't know if you shouldn't just blindly change your mind all the time and be like the waves of the ocean being crashed and thrown around. I don't think that, but I believe when you hear good evidence or data on things, you should take it seriously. Like we get really scared about science, and I say we, so I'm a part of the Christian world, that it might somehow defeat God or something like that. That seems like the most stupidest possible thing in the whole world, because if science is good, we're all super happy when it does create a pill or does stop a disease or does help us stay alive or save a kid or whatever it might be. We're all cool with it, but as soon as it starts getting a little bit in the evolution world or something like that, we start freaking out and claiming this hypocritical, I think, idea of science is stupid and this. So my point would be, why not be open to stuff and trust that as long as you're trying to honor God or follow Jesus or whatever that might be, it's okay to be doubtful about some things or figuring some things out.
Or change your mind.
Because otherwise, all you're doing is going to some room once a week for an hour and hearing somebody tell you about God. That doesn't make sense. So I don't feel at all scared that I get to own my Christianity. And it might not be right now. There's things about my Christianity and my faith and my walk that aren't right. They're wrong. That's what sin does. Yeah, for sure.
Hopefully you can change them as you
Hopefully I can change them. I might not. But in the whole scheme of things, the amount of knowledge we know is about almost zero. I mean, there's so much stuff about this universe we don't know. So why are we so sure about a few things?
But I will say
experience
this,
a little bit more.
I will say this, and I think this. I'm not trying to make you feel better, but I think it will, and I think it's just true.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Thanks, Toby. Thanks, man.
like touch my knee or something?
I really think that where a lot of Christians err, though, is when they start to seek things that may be a little out of the box. They also simultaneously do it on their own. And I think that we always need to be saying, God, I am a dummy, and I don't know anything outside of you. Please help me. I'm seeking something. It seems a little crazy to me, so I need you to help me. I need you to rein me in. And I just don't feel like I've ever lost a sense of desperation for God and Him guiding me and everything. So I am very much so comfortable with, maybe I'm totally wrong with what I think about hell. Maybe I'm totally right. Either way, I feel like God's got me, So I just think that's the most important thing, is just knowing that we're still seeking Him. And we don't have like our own agenda, like this has to be right for me to serve God. I mean, that, to me, that's a dead end. You might as well just stop it if you have to have it, things a certain way. So,
Yep. One more question here.
Man,
I'm gonna let y'all decide.
How do we choose?
I'm not gonna sort it out. Oh, you went with proximity.
No, you with the mic.
You went with proximity on that one.
Wait a minute, is that the non-Christian?
Yeah, I think that was a good choice. It wasn't
Who gave him the
proximity.
damn line? Shit! Here we go. We're in trouble.
Please don't lead us astray with your intellect, sir.
God,
You're not
I'm nervous
doing
right now. I'm so damn nervous.
Do not bring up science.
I didn't want to say it. I actually do feel icky now.
This is a non-religious question.
Surprise. It's gonna be like, do you think Dave's the best drummer?
No, I was curious. About,
Name, sorry, you gotta
I'm
go
sorry.
name first.
My name's Mark. As well.
I would have guessed Lucifer. Go ahead.
My question is, I find it rather entertaining when you guys talk about your wives and your families.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just curious about whether or not you've ever thought about bringing the wives onto the podcast, and maybe do that.
Quite right. We're gonna do that for the BC Club. So if you would join tonight.
Now, quite a popular question indeed. The thing is, and maybe I'm the one that's maybe prevented it from happening. Yeah, I think there's a way that we can incorporate these women in our podcast. So I know people want to hear from them, but they're not necessarily gifted in the same way that Joey is.
Wow.
They're not necessarily entertainers or performers. My wife, for instance, will kicking and screaming. It'll be really hard to get.
This is what I think of his answer.
So my wife, for instance, it would be really hard to get her to do it. And the other thing you fight when you try to do that is if we have Priscilla on here on this show, if she's here tonight, guess what Joey's point of view is going to be? It's going to be severely altered. He's going to be severely protective of his wife. So now you have an inexperienced person in this semi-rough environment.
Whatever, she answers to me, dude.
And you're going to have Joey or Toby or somebody trying to be ultra protective and careful to make sure. You know what I mean?
Right.
So there's probably a format, and here's to date my favorite concept would be to have Toby's wife come on the show, but Toby not on the show.
Yeah.
So something like that could be really interesting. So we thought through it, and we know it's a popular ask that people would like to hear from these other parts.
I mean, you don't have a thing for our wives, dude.
No, nobody can believe that 3 females would marry us. For sure. Like, oh my God, it has to be awful. It has to be awful. And you're right. You're dead right. Well, give somebody one more question?
Go ahead.
All right, I saw 2 hands. We're going to answer those 2 questions.
22 more questions.
Emory
and wait, who has the better question? Fight.
Daniel Boone.
All right.
I just want an expansion on one of the stories that he briefly mentioned in there involving them. I just wanted a little bit of expansion.
All right, we'll go. Yeah, we'll have time for 2. You go first.
We'll do 2. I'll go small backstories, all right?
Small backstory. You have a story about your back? So there I was.
Anyways,
all right, you have 30 seconds.
Last year, you know, to see you guys every concert.
Oh, nice.
And anyways, and I had tickets to the pre-show, the acoustic session or something. I missed it, and I saw you guys outside walking across the street, and I was like, I'm gonna be that shitty fan that goes and says hello.
So I went over and said, "Hey guys, I missed the pre-show. Wanted to say hello because I hadn't met you guys before, and you guys were on your way to get tacos."
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and so Matt,
So
you're on the
we
phone.
said.
You don't remember any of this. Toby's being really nice, very cordial.
I was?
I know, it's unbelievable.
I know.
And you guys, you're going to get tacos. So Josh comes up and is like, "Guys, we need to go get tacos right now." And he's like, "You two," because I was with my buddy, "you can come with us." We're all like, "Is he serious?" So the question to you guys, would you be pissed off if a fan actually came to get tacos? Or would you be like, "This guy's pretty cool"?
All right, you can't ask them that question because they're not going to be honest with you. I'll be
No,
honest with you.
I want them to be honest. Like, no,
They
don't
would
want
both
them.
not like it at all.
I figured that.
Well, I do like tacos. And
I like fans.
And I like tacos in their appropriate place. And I like fans in their.
So you didn't go with us to get
No,
tacos.
we regretted that.
Why did you chicken out?
Should have made him.
I mean, Josh said you could come.
He did, but then
But
no
you-
one else
you-
said anything. So we were like,
Oh,
maybe
I
Josh
see.
was just.
We put out the weird vibe.
Josh was doing
We're
the
good
cool
at that.
guy, I guess.
Yeah, and I'll speak for Matt and Toby. I mean, think of how
Oh, thanks, man.
You're welcome, man. I've always
I mean, I've been in a band for like 15 years. But yeah, you give your perspective.
I mean, think about what they go through. It's just so painful to be famous. And so imagine them sitting in front of someone that just admires them so much and they have to eat food with that person. It's just hell.
If anybody wants to eat tacos with us, it's fine. But yeah, I'd rather just have normal conversation. I don't want to talk about myself or Emory. That is always, or Bad Christian or anything. Like that's the time where I want to go have a taco and talk about bullshit. Like seriously. So that's the only thing. I think a lot of times fans feel uncomfortable and that's their moment and they don't know what to say. But it would be way better just to have a normal conversation. That would be fun.
So would you think
that
it's-
doesn't bother me? I really actually do
Toby's
enjoy
right
meeting new
about
people.
that.
But that's the only thing. There's a little bit of pressure of, oh yeah, man. So on your second album, this did this happen. What do you think? And I have to talk about. And I don't care at that moment because I care about the taco. You know what I mean? That would be cool. Like if you went and got tacos, and you're like, man, this taco is awesome. Man, we would be buds for life, for sure. But anything extra about me or the band, I just do feel uncomfortable about that. I don't like that. I don't want more attention about me or anything because it makes me feel fake and not like a real human. So I really do push against it. So, all right. And the last question over here.
I hate your music. You guys want to get tacos?
Sure.
Oh, yeah. You got it. Hey, my name is BJ, and I was wondering if you guys wanted to go get tacos afterwards. Not really. I had a quick question from Aaron Lunsford's book. I was reading through it, and I came across one of the stories in his injuries chapter.
Yeah.
And I was wondering if Toby could expand upon.
I know
All it
it's
really
coming.
says is, I remember it being a really fun night. The word got around that Toby, the singer of Emory, was on his way to the emergency room with Gary, his brother and Emory's guitar tech, because Toby had in fact stabbed his brother in the hand. I was just wondering if you could expand upon that. Like, what happened?
Okay. We have toured with bands that have gone on to be giant and famous, and we stayed steady. We did not get giant famous. We held the course. We were on tour with a band called Gym Class Heroes. Y'all know that band? Travis McCoy, you're friends with him. Great band, great dudes. And so that we heard that band and wanted them to come out with us, and they agreed, and it was great. Somehow, somebody gave him, or he bought a giant, massive novelty John Wayne knife. When you open it up, it was about 2 feet long almost. Like you had to hold it like this, open palm. And at the end of the show at the Grog Shop in Cleveland, Ohio, my brother and I are goofing around, and I'm acting like
No. Your brother was not goofing.
My brother was not goofing around.
He was.
I was acting a fool.
Goofing around.
I was acting a fool. And my brother, I was like, I'm going to stab you. I'm going to stab you with this big knife. And we're just cutting up. And he holds up his hand. And when he does, the knife goes directly in between his index finger and the thumb and slits this part right here. Right here. And so we had to go to the emergency room. And It was really terrible. And the doctor said, hey, if it would have been like, seriously, like the most minute farther, he would have had nerve damage forever. And his thumb and index finger or whatever wouldn't have worked the same forever. And it ended up being really great that that didn't happen. But the bill was like, I don't know, $1,000. And I made the band pay for it.
Because something like it, we were
It happened on tour.
It happened on tour, or we were all entertained by it, or something.
Right,
like
right.
that.
I was
Some
like,
logic
yeah.
like that. So no, not out of Toby's spot. Toby opens the bus door and takes a big John Wayne knife, holding it up and down. Gary goes, "No, man, no, man." Puts his hand up to stop Toby from doing it. Slice. Made
Right.
a vagina right inside. And look at your in between your thumb and index finger right now.
Yeah.
Imagine
Look at it.
a vagina cut right there. That was actually exactly what happened.
So you're talking about making a vagina cut.
He cut a.
Toby takes that,
Which is how the Lord of creation.
You take opportunities to talk about vaginas and penises a lot sometimes, and I was wondering if we were ever going to get
Is this,
to that
is
place.
this your transition to on-damn news?
Sure is.
In the world, when the person who gives you their news, gives you the news, actually made a vagina in his brother's hand. My name is Toby Morrell. This is amazing damn news. How many people can say that? I mean, how many people have brothers here, and your brother would love it if you gave him a vagina, an extra vagina? That'd be amazing. I don't hear any women laughing. Let's move on from this. Can you stop? Dr. Soundtech, move on. All right, can I get started here? This is gonna be a nightmare. All right, this first news. He's on fire tonight. You guys have made Joey on fire tonight. I promise you. I know hell doesn't exist, but you are on fire tonight. You are on fire, my friend. Anything you do is going. Man. This is for you. My first news story is for you. Man stunned by what he found inside Domino's delivery box.
Oh shit!
But it wasn't pizza, Joey.
Come on!
It's customer here. A man who ordered some pizza and wings from his local takeaway was astonished when he opened the box. He ordered a pizza from Domino's and got a lot more than he bargained for when he opened the box to find a massive wad of cash. Mike Vegas, which is an awesome name. That is so cool, Mike Vegas, was keenly awaiting his pizza and wings when the box containing 2 stacks of bills amounted to about 15, I think this was in Europe, so I don't know what pounds are. 860 pounds, which is probably about $1,500. He shared an image of the special delivery on Twitter. He told ABC 7 News that he had eaten just 1 slice of pizza and then put the rest of the food in the fridge. And when he got off his shift, he had missed lots of calls from the delivery guy who had been on his way to the bank. Thus, put the cash in a wings box for safekeeping and then mislaid the box. Vegas said at about 5 a.m., I got home from work, went to my refrigerator, pulled it out, and I thought it was wings, but it turned out to be about $1,300. I wrote a Facebook post, and of course, there was a long list of people arguing that he should keep it. He said, you should, but he decided not to keep it and returned it. And then, which I think is awesome, and I'm going to give a free ad here. I love Domino's cheesy bread. Oh my God.
You should.
Their new cheesy bread is amazing.
You do.
They gave him a whole year of free pizza.
Wow.
Which is really awesome. But so here's why I brought this up. What's the amount of money that you wouldn't return? And then what would, I mean, like, obviously if you found $5 or $10, you don't care. Right. You know what I mean? I guess if somebody said, hey, that's my $5, maybe you would return it, obviously. But if you found $1,500, would you try to return it if you didn't know where it came from?
Given the scenario, my first assumption here would be that the person who's shuffling money in a pizza box and delivery is doing some kind of drug
shady. Right. Yeah, that's what I thought.
In which case,
But he wasn't,
you
but
need to comply, and you don't need to try to keep that money. That's the whole plot of No
If you're
Country
walking-
for
yeah,
Old
but
Men.
If you're walking, yeah, you're right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's on a smaller scale, so it doesn't. And after $1,500, as it gets larger, you're in worse and worse danger.
Right.
And Anton Chigurh is coming for you.
Yeah.
Sugar. So I don't. You know, it has to be under $100.
Okay, but say this: you're walking through the grocery store, you look down, and there's $3,000. You can put it in your pocket, or do you go to the guy at the front desk and say, "Hey, I think somebody dropped $3,000."
It's just always drug money.
Do you do it?
It's just tough because
No, but I mean, it's just the money. Whatever. Okay, drug money. That means you keep it. Or
No,
do you
they're
return
coming
it?
for you.
No. So you would return it no matter what.
Yeah, you don't want the drug people after you, man.
Would you return it?
I mean, it's tough because the person at the grocery store is gonna be like, "Oh, 3,000. Yeah, we had someone report it, and yeah, you need to give it to me." And then he takes it home. So you know, what if God intended for you to have it? And I'll make a shameless plug for Matt. Top 5 favorite movies? Simple Plan.
Exactly.
If you have not seen a Simple Plan, you've got to see it.
What's the most amount of money you've ever found?
Well, my dad and I actually found a purse loaded with cash, and then we even opened up the wallet to see if there's any identification. There was loads of cash in that too. Then we looked over across, and there's like a huddle of family, like really distraught and everything. We're like, I bet you they lost
And
that
you-
purse.
and y'all
They're
left.
really sad and everything. We got
You got the hell out of there fast.
No, the lady actually came to us and kind of like pointed, like, "Oh, is that y'all?" And we're like, "No, we've been waiting here. We're good Christian people, and we waited." And we gave it to
So
them.
return it. What's the most amount you've ever kept? Do you remember?
If I need,
Try
yeah,
$20.
$20.
Let me. I'll give you a couple things here.
Yeah,
Number
give us a
one,
couple things.
First of all, I do think that in general, to accumulate or gain money or anything that you didn't earn or don't have value to is not going to be to your. It's not going to be good for you in the long run. I think you should proportionally only have the money. Like I think winning the lottery is bad for the same reason. Doesn't matter if it's legitimate or not. I think the money and the things that you acquire proportionally, you need to acquire them legitimately. Doesn't matter if it's like bad or not. But as I'm remodeling my house, I did notice on my last Home Depot receipt that there was a $50 bucket of thin set tile mortar that did not go on my. It wasn't on my
Right.
receipt. And I paid. It was the bill was $300 or $400. I didn't even notice it.
Okay.
I never went back.
Well, I think I told. I mean,
So my house has my new place that I'm remodeling now has $50 of blood money in it.
You're cursed.
And I know, I'm feeling really guilty about it.
Well, I told you about the time, Toby, when I came to the car after buying some stuff from Target, and I realized that they had charged me for stuff, and I had just strapped in all 4 of my kids, got them settled in. It was not, ooh, I just got off and got to save some money because they didn't charge me. It was, I'm not getting these damn kids out of the car to go back into Target. I mean, it's just,
Well, quick chime-in question here.
Yeah, first of all, my name is DJ, but I used to work at a movie theater it was about a summer, and we were told by management that if we found money underneath the seats and it was loose, we could keep it. Well, one night, it was about 2 or 3 in the morning, because the cleaning crew cleans overnight. We found about $2,000
Under one seat, like
under one
organized.
seat. Yeah, organized.
It didn't fall out of a pocket.
It probably fell out of the pocket, but I mean, it was about it was wrapped up real nice and rubber band, and we didn't think anything of it, except the fact that $2,000. All right, we should probably not take this home. And all of a sudden, from the other side of the building, we hear a horn just blaring at one of the doors. And and so we go over there, and we go over to the other side of the building. We open the door. There's no one there. We hear a horn coming at one of the other exits, and eventually we get out there, and there's this guy, and he's just absolutely mean looking. He is absolutely livid. He is accusing us of stealing his money, and we were terrified. And we're like, no, sir, we found the money. We found the money, and we ended up giving it to him, and he gave us each $50. There's 5 of us on the crew, so
Wow. You did the right thing.
Never take the drug dealer's money.
Absolutely.
Wow.
What you got, Toby?
All right, this next one. This actually happened to us last night as we were leaving the Milwaukee show, so I thought this was really a really interesting story. This comes from my good friends at the Huffington Post. Driver allegedly leaps from moving car to escape spider. So last night we left Milwaukee, and Matt is petrified of spiders. Joey's driving, and Joey goes, oh, and he claps his hand together and says, Matt, I'm so glad you weren't driving because I just killed a spider. They turned on the light and there was a giant spider laying dead on Joey's leg. Matt is petrified. I believe you probably would have killed us. I think you would have tried to pull over, swerve, or something to get out of the car. I think you would have killed us because you're really scared of spiders. But this lady, an Indiana woman, leapt from a moving car on Friday after noticing a spider on her shoulder. Angela Kipp, who's 35 years old, was backing her Dodge Avenger out. Dodge Avenger is an awesome sounding car. Out of her driveway in Syracuse when she spotted an arachnid, said the sheriff. Kipp's 9-year-old son moved from the back seat and tried to hit the brakes, but mistakenly pushed down the accelerator, sending the vehicle straight into a passing school bus. The boy, who authorities found lying on the ground outside of the vehicle, was taken to a hospital for minor injuries. The bus driver wasn't injured, and there were no passengers on the bus. The sheriff's department was unable to tell Huffington Post whether Kipp might face charges from the crash. As wild as the story might sound, Kipp is not the first driver to leap from a vehicle in terror. Leah Diagiovanni, 24, told the Huffington Post that she experienced a similar incident in New York. Back in 2009, she said she saw something scurry across the steering wheel and realized it was a huge spider. She said that she made a sharp right turn, and her friend managed to slam the car into park before they leapt out. So anyway, so with that being said, can you believe that if you had your kid in the car, would you leap from a car? That sounds unreal.
No, I think there's a
you
thing.
would kill your son for a spider.
No, I think there's a thing that kicks in when you have a kid that you could handle it or take. Well, apparently not for this person, but
right.
I do think in general that there's certain fears that when you have a kid they take over, such as killing a spider. If a spider was attacking my daughter, I would be able to overcome that. I would be able to overcome the situation.
A spider attacking your daughter's going off.
I would have to. I mean, I think that I would be able to overcome my fear in that situation.
Joey, last night you weren't scared at all. You're not scared of insects.
I was scared for Matt.
Right.
And spiders are not insects, dumbass.
Well, I mean, if there was any spider,
I would have been afraid of
I mean,
roach.
any insect.
A roach.
Roaches are so gross.
I'm afraid of them.
All right, I got one more news story. Do y'all want?
Thank the Lord.
Y'all want drinking or sex? Related?
Let's do drinking.
All right, I love drinking. I thought this was badass. That's why I like this story. A woman chugged a bottle of liquor because she couldn't take it on the plane. This is just badass. Like, no.
Is this going to be in the southeastern United States?
Well, we'll find out. Let's go some time. A Chinese woman was making a connecting flight from Beijing to, I cannot say that, Wenzhou Friday, and was told by airport security that she could not take an expensive bottle of cognac onto the plane, which she had bought from the U.S. and wanted to bring on the plane in her luggage. Not wanting to let her $200, you might know this, Remy Martin
Cognac.
Yep. Go to waste. The woman drank the entire bottle. She became so intoxicated that she was found rolling on the floor and acting erratically at the boarding gate of the Beijing. She was so drunk she couldn't even stand up. We took her to a room in a wheelchair so she could rest. She was not allowed to board her flight out of concern for her safety and others and herself as she was traveling alone. When she woke up several hours later, her family escorted her home. So here's the thing. I just think, for me, okay, that sounds crazy. Probably wasn't the right decision, but that is just so badass. Like, I would love to walk up to TSA and they go, and I go, oh, really? Oh, really? Oh, fuck me? Fuck you. That's what I want to say. That's what I want.
It's just like the time that Joey ate that pocket knife.
Oh, really?
Well, he shit it out and it's in his pocket today.
Have you ever gotten in trouble at TSA though for something? My brother and I, we were on vacation in Charlotte, North Carolina, and for some reason back then, I guess my parents just took us to the airport to see a big airport. We were young. I seriously, I was like maybe early middle school or whatever, and so we were going through the metal detector, And my brother and I thought it'd be really funny. When my brother walked through, I was like, "Hey, Gary," and I pretended to throw. I was like, "Catch these guns!" And I thought it was so in my head. It was so funny, and everybody there just freaked out. And it stops, and my dad was so mad. He was just so angry. And they pulled us over to the side, and they like waved the wand around us and all that stuff, try to make an example of us. But
And that was pre 9/11.
oh yeah,
And you
totally.
know, and today,
Yeah.
like if here's the thing, if you were 8-year-old, 9-year-old Gary Toby now, you would have the discernment or wisdom to not make that same gag.
Right.
But if you did, you would have gone
in
to
big
jail.
trouble.
Like you would have been detained, and it would have been a lot worse for sure.
I just don't like it. The whole TSA thing, I think, is just terrible. I think it only affects us, and I just hate it. And I mean, seriously, this lady didn't want to drink her entire bottle. It's like $200. What am I going to do? I have to get to my flight, so she just chugged.
No, she's a problem, man.
No, she's badass. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, that's the news with Toby.
Yeah. All right, well, that news was brought to you by Brian Hunt, Sean McIntyre, Austin Laws, Jonathan Williams, Nathan Corley, Tyler Dreher, Nick Hubba, Andy Offling, Nick. Oh, my phone. Dadgummit, I have to push the damn code in. Andy Offling, Nick Hoffman, Patrick Dayton, Reef Morgan Mims,
Why do you have a
Daniel
code on your phone?
Lech, Dylan Christner, Ariel Compton, and Brian Perez. Thank you guys for being in the BC Club. Matt, tell them what the BC Club is about.
It's this giant list that Joey makes up names for. There's actually only 4 or 5 people in the club. We've been making up names for 6 months.
He loves it. We let him do it because he loves it.
He just loves improvising names. Yeah, thank you to the people here for the show tonight. How many of you guys in the BC Club that got to come here as a
Nice.
perk? I appreciate it.
Sweet. Yep.
I appreciate it. This has been a wonderful show. Thank you guys for all being here. The BC Club is the way that we funded this show. People that pay, that choose to pay what they want for these episodes, for the stupid stuff that we do. They bought our plane ticket. We got a rental car. We're going to get a hotel tonight. Thank you for doing that. We appreciate it very much. And thank you to everybody else who's here too. Now we're at the point where we wrap up with a gag. And Tony, you might have burnt your best gag
I
on
was about to
that
say,
fat Joey thing.
Before
You have another one, or somebody else got one?
And before we do that, before we establish who's going to give this joke, we do have merchandise in the back, and we want to premiere our buddy Aaron Lunsford's book. It really and truly is an awesome book, and we have a bunch of copies. There you go. Everybody turn back there and see Backstage. He's the drummer of As Cities Burn, but some stuff over there, sweatshirts, t-shirts, and everything. But honestly, we're just happy to see your faces. If you don't want to give us any extra money, then that's
It's a wild experiment. There's people as dumb as you to be here, and there's people crazy enough to download this podcast, and that we could be here. It's a pretty amazing thing. So thank you. This stuff's available online. Thank you to everybody that listens to this and that's at home. Who's our last gag tonight?
Who's got a killer joke? All right, it's right over here. It is funny though. How many of you could tell your parents what you did tonight? Mom and Dad, I went to this dude's basement and these guys talks. My dad cannot understand podcasting, so I can't understand why. Anyway, go ahead, sir.
My name is Adam.
All right, hey, no matter what, when he tells this joke, we all die laughing. We don't leave Adam we're hanging dry.
Yeah.
All right, so a woman walks into a bar of like a high-rise, penthouse or whatever, and sees a man drowning stars at the bar, and she goes up to him, tries to strike up a conversation with him. She says, "Hey, buddy, what are you drinking there?" And he goes, "Oh, it's just a magic beer." And she goes, "A magic beer? What do you mean by that?" He goes, "Oh, I guess I'll show you." And he takes a swig of the beer and walks over to the window, opens it up, and jumps out and starts flying circles around the building. The woman's like, "Oh my God, that's amazing." She takes a swig of the beer and jumps out the same window, falls to her death. So a guy flies back in, sits back down at the bar, and continues sipping his beer. Bartender says, "God, Superman, you're a dick when you're drunk."
Thank you guys. Have a good night.